Aloha, everybody. I could not be more excited for what is happening right now. Like, I couldn't sleep last night. It felt like Christmas. I am going to be joined here with Patricia Heaton. Oh my goodness, you know her face from Everybody Loves Raymond. She is that beloved TV mom. She was a Frankie Heck as in the middle, the mom there as well. And I feel like we can get some really good motherly advice from this woman. And she is also embarking on her second act in life, doing humanitarian work with World Vision, and then also stepping behind the camera and executive producing her own show. So, without further ado, I am so honored to be welcoming Patricia Heaton.
Guys, am I I'm just okay, let me just check. Here I come. There we go. Ooh, I was scared. I'm not great with technology, which is why I had four sons, just to make sure I could get my computer going.
I got
Hi, Sarah.
well. I feel like they're holding it down for us.
Yes,
Hello,
yeah.
Patty. Thank you so much. And before we really get into it, I just have to honestly and genuinely, from my bottom of my heart, thank you for letting me be a part of this book and this process and your second act. So thank you.
Yeah, well, your story is just so incredibly inspirational. And I think we're in a time right now where people really need to hear inspiring stories, because right now in the world, people are going to have to overcome a lot of obstacles. There's been that huge sea change with the pandemic, and it's really rocked people's worlds. So I think, it's really important to have people like you who are inspiring and have overcome huge obstacles and are here to talk about it, and not just talk about overcoming, but really becoming successful and empowered and contributing to the community in a way that you wouldn't have in your previous life.
Yes. I love one of the quotes that you use in the book, and it's from Hal Elrod, and it's so perfect. Let today be the day you give up who you've been for who you can become. And there's such like this underlying thread of surrender and letting go to what you thought it was supposed to look like,
Right.
so that you can embrace what's coming up next. And it's so funny because when I first started getting interviewed for the book, pandemic was nowhere in the pipeline. Like
Right.
We were not even there at all. And now with the release, the timing is so perfect. Like it couldn't have come at a more perfect time, that people do really need this right now. How has that affected you with the release?
Well, it's been interesting because we were supposed to release the book in May around Mother's Day. And of course, the pandemic happened in March, and nobody, everything sort of came to a standstill as people figured out, like, what are we doing here? And it's interesting because I had just finished the first season of Carol's second act. I was in the middle of producing a movie in Oklahoma City. Oh, hi, doggies are here. And we had to shut down the production in Oklahoma City with 5 days left to go, and we have not been able to go back and finish that. So that was disappointing, because my husband and I are producing it and he's directing, and we were financing it. So it was really disappointing, and we keep trying to get back there to finish it, and we haven't been able to yet. So we all came back to LA, and then I got the news that my show that I had been producing and starring in, Carol's Second Act, was canceled, and that they were also not renewing my contract. So, you have a lot of like, okay, everything's gone. But what's interesting is, this book, Your Second Act, which you so graciously agreed to be a part of, and I will show your viewers here, Your Second Act, was inspired by my show, by Carol's Second Act, because that show was about a woman who is divorced, and she decides she's going to fulfill her dream that she had deferred when she was a mom and a school teacher, of going to medical school. So, I thought it's very interesting to see people later in life change something up. A lot of us spend a good amount of time focusing on raising our kids, which is wonderful to be able to do that. But when they go, it's nice to have that next thing. And what I've realized now is that this book couldn't have come at a better time. And pushing off the release was really sort of fortuitous, because it's come at a time where people are going, either I lost my job, it doesn't look like it's coming back, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Or maybe they still have their job and they're saying, gee, I've now realized through this pandemic that life is precious.
Yeah.
Nothing's guaranteed. Do I really want to go back to the way I was living? Do I want to go back to that job that I was doing? Is that the way I want to spend my life? You know, I've realized how important family is, how important friends are. Was I spending enough time with them? Was my job taking up too much space in my life? So I think this book is perfect for those people who either have to find something new to do or are considering finding something new to do. And the stories here are from all different walks of life, smaller stories, bigger stories. And so I think it's really a great time for it to come out. So that's, I think, one of the silver linings of the pandemic.
I think so too. I think it's so perfect. And you had even said in there at one point, you're like, you know, it could be this huge, huge change in your life, or it could be just a simple, like transformational internal shift that's going on. And both are so powerful in your lives. And so, you know, people, I think, get really stuck on trying to find their big purpose and finding the big bang. And then they forget that it could be really this subtle shift internally as well.
I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't, you don't have to start a Fortune 500 company, you know, and that's great if you can do that. And that's great if how your adventure turns out. But it might be, just as you said, an internal shift about how you're looking at life. And if you make that first step, then it's very possible that it would lead to other things that you didn't expect.
Absolutely. I have to like go back in time a little bit, because there was something that was so stood out to me really big when I was reading the book, and you had talked about this journey when you were in New York City, and you're trying to make it as an actress.
Yes.
And there was about like 8 or 9 like grueling years in New York, and about 15 total before you have that first big break. That's a long time.
I know, 15
to be racing around and hitting the pavement. Like, how do you keep going, and how do you know that you're on the right track?
Yeah, well, I know it's, and you know, acting is such a weird thing that it's hard to compare it to any other journey and any other career move. I moved to New York. My dad gave me $800 and said, okay, good luck. He didn't know where I was living, what I was doing. I can't imagine doing that today with my kids. Like, okay,
right, like fun. Where are you going to be? Let me see.
Yeah, but you know, and maybe his parenting style is better. It's just you push the baby bird out of the nest, you know. So he gave me $800, and I went and stayed. My girlfriend had found an apartment there, and I just had to try, you know. And I got like a commercial or two. The only way for me to actually get a job being a play is to produce it myself and put myself in it. So I did that. And then, you know, but it wasn't really adding up to a career. I was doing a lot of survival jobs, shoe modeling, restaurant management, summarizing depositions, running the Xerox machine at People magazine. You know, my poor family at home was just like, my dad was like, you know, when are you coming back? I'll get you a job in Cleveland. But there were enough people along the way who said to me, wow, you're really good, you know. And I think getting encouragement along the way is super important. And what the challenges do, it tests your commitment. So a challenge doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something wrong or you've made the wrong choice. It's just like, how much do you want this? How much do you believe in this? How much do you believe in yourself? And so, and by the way, it's okay to say, yeah, I don't want it that much. You know, maybe it isn't the right thing. But I, you know, for me, there was something internally that said, it's not time to throw in the towel yet. And so I did go to LA with my then boyfriend, now husband. I took a play that I had produced in New York and I took it to LA and did it there. And I invited casting directors to come because when I got to LA, I had no agent, no manager, no car, actually, which is impossible in LA.
Right.
I bought a clunker from Rent-A-Wreck, a 74 Toyota Corolla for $1,500, which I had to put on a credit card because I didn't have $1,500. And I'm already 30 by this time. That's pathetic. It's pathetic, you know. All my friends were married and having kids and had houses and cars and, you know. So, and that was the time, like about a year into LA, I just thought, I might have to go back to college and get a degree in something useful because I just don't think this is going to work. But little by little, the auditions kept coming. The casting directors came to see the play I did, and then I started getting calls. And, you know, it eventually started to happen. But it took 15 years to be able to stop summarizing depositions.
And you talked about this really powerful moment of surrendering. And I loved when you talked about it in the book because it sounded like a very like a line in the sand moment of I am here to surrender. And then you showed up differently to auditions. That's how I felt it when I was reading it anyways.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So one of the first things I did when I moved to LA was join a church. It happened to be Hollywood Presbyterian Church. And we went on like just a short 3 or 4 day like trip to an orphanage in Mexico. And we were going to lay down some lawn and throw the kids a party and bring them some toys and soccer balls and things like that. And so we went, and there weren't even cell phones at that time. So we're kind of just cut off from everything except being completely immersed at this orphanage and just doing some hard labor. I didn't speak Spanish. The kids didn't speak English. My husband was with me and other friends from church. And when I came back, I felt this incredible peace that I had never felt before. And up to that point, it was like, if I not make my living as an actress, I am going to kill myself. Like I have to. I cannot go back to Cleveland a failure. It was like this weight, you know.
Yeah.
And ego, and there's a lot of ego and pride involved in it. And after I went on the Mexico trip, I was like, oh, I could be perfectly happy going back to Mexico and in this orphanage for the rest of my life. I feel such great peace. And so for the first time, I mean, I'm raised Catholic, you know, believed all the things of the Catholic Church, but I don't think I ever really gave over my acting to God. And for, you know, me as a person of faith, that's important. So, and I thought, oh, I thought I was completely surrendered. I'm not. And so I just said, okay, I kind of have these conversations with God. And I said, here's the deal.
Still trying to maintain control.
Yes. I'm getting auditions. They're coming in. And so, but I really loved Mexico. So I'm going to just put it in your hands. If you want me to go back to Mexico, open that door really wide. Shut down the auditions. But if if I should continue pursuing the acting, then keep the auditions coming and just let's let Mexico go. And that was a line in the sand. It absolutely, because then I just felt free. And I felt that anything that came along, any audition, it was something God was allowing into my life.
Oh.
If I didn't get the job, then that wasn't meant for me. And if I got the job, then that's the path I was supposed to go. And I kept working. And it kept happening and happening. And the beauty of it is now, some like 20 some years later, the beauty is I was thinking that the acting and the orphanage was an either or thing. Yes. But what happened at God's timing was just like, okay, you're going to be an actress for now, and I'm going to elevate you so that when you do go back into working with kids and people in foreign countries, you're going to have more of a platform. So you're going to help them so much more than you could have if you were just hiding away in Mexico, a lone person, So I think what was great is like, it wasn't even an either or thing. It was just like, in my time, God says, in my time, I'm going to do this for you. You're going to have the acting, and then we're going to bring forward, all that work with World Vision. So you're still going to get both. But it didn't even occur to me till last year when I was in Rwanda, and I realized, oh my gosh, he gave me both. I got both.
You
So
totally got both. I
yes.
said before that if we can replace the or with an and, like it just completely frees us up
Yes.
to experience it all. Like we have it in our head, it's supposed to be one way. And if it's not, then it's the end of the world or whatever. But we've got it in our head. I had to play with that a lot, even with my disability. I was like, I'm not supposed to have a disability or be successful. Like you have these stereotypes in your head that I played with. But when I replaced it with an and, I was like, okay, that helps me to surrender and kind of release that control, what I think it's supposed to look like.
Yes, but did you find, because you started out in broadcast and then you found yourself moving more toward the spa, the health and beauty arena.
Mm-hmm.
So you were already kind of having a transition when you had your accident. Do you think that helped at all, that you were already being kind of open to change in what you had thought your life was going to be about when the accident happened? Or the accident just such a huge thing that it didn't even compare to going from like broadcast to working in
it was such a jolt to my reality, and I'd always, things had always kind of worked out for me, and so this was the first time where it was like, there's nothing I can do about this one, like this isn't working out. And so you had to sort of kind of find the opportunity, and the opportunity came through my own healing journey and then what I could offer. So I have a really hard time with control. I think that I think that I know it best and I know how to handle it. And if I don't, then there isn't supposed to be another way. So, and I think that that's what everyone's toying with right now, is like, they've got it in their head of what it was supposed to look like. And now we've got to let go. We've got to accept, we've got to surrender, and we've got to say, I can go through a pandemic and I can be happy, and I can choose to still be successful, and I can still find the light. Again, it's just playing with that and of it can be all of it. It can be beautiful.
Yes, and I think, we probably have similar personality characteristics of control, maybe perfectionism a little bit.
That's one that I circled on my notes. I want to talk to you about that one. Like, how do you get through that as you're dealing with it? Well, I mean, I think that runs rampant with women in general. Like,
yes, and I think especially if you're a mom and if the pressure has been put on, and I think it's almost inadvertent with social media, when we all know this, people post pictures of their perfect life, and they've staged it and stuff. And, there's some people that have actually gone the other way now and just show messiness, which is a relief to people. But I do think we all have this idea, and it kind of started with Martha Stewart, who I adore. I adore her. She's wonderful. And I think she's elevated homemaking to this wonderful art, but it can also, if you take it too seriously, you can put pressure on yourself to have everything look and be a certain way, and that's just not possible in the real world, right? And so I think that, but I think the drive that we have, the wanting to take control, those are gifts. They just have to be used in the proper way, because I like accomplishing things. I get satisfaction from accomplishing and from producing things and from being creative. So how do you make sure you're using that properly, without having it take over your life? You know what I'm saying? Or to be down on yourself, or you have to have like a flexibility, I think, and to go with the flow. And it'll give you a lot more peace too, if you can, be flexible and don't be hard on yourself. But I think with a lot of people in the book, such as yourself, it requires drive, and it requires people who are go-getters. you know?
Well, and I
you're,
think
yeah,
that because I kind of think of you and I think of you as like the heartbeat of this book. I feel like you really gave every story this common pulse.
yeah,
And for me, what I read as like this underlying current that every one of us in the stories had was there was an element of faith. And you
yeah,
talk about that with yourself, but there was this faith of like, I don't know what it's going to look like,
yeah,
but I know I'm going to be okay. And I'm just going to have faith in this next step because
yes.
that's all I have. And so I want to know if that was kind of what you got from it. I mean, you had this firsthand with all these stories. What did
Yeah.
you get?
Yes, I noticed that for a lot of people, there is this underlying faith element, I think, for many people in the book who have a trust, whether it's specifically in God or in the universe. There's a trust that if they are open and willing, that everything's going to be okay in the end. And, it's interesting because a lot of people, it's not always successful, and I think you see that some of the stories, um, Liz Smothers has the Julian Pie Company, and she had to really, and it was stages that how her company was built slowly, and then at one point when they were successful, she branched out into doing an orchard and was doing apple cider and apple juice, and that didn't work out, and so they had to make the choice to shut that down. So it's kind of this thing that you have to keep taking steps, and you try things, and if they're not really working, you let that go and you move on to the other thing. So there's a combination of intention with flexibility. I think that's what it is.
Mm,
Intention with flexibility. So I think it's great to have a plan. I talk about people who are leapers and people who are planners. And I've been both. And at certain stages of the game, you just have to say, I just got to go do this. I just have to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And
yeah.
then, but then there's times when it's much better to say, let's lay some groundwork. Let's do some research. And particularly, I think when you have it's a family and responsibilities and other people that you have obligations towards, sometimes the planning is a little bit better. When you're young and a little bit free and carefree and don't have a lot of
Yeah.
responsibilities, you can be
Yeah.
a leaper a little bit more easily. And that's another thing. A second act, you don't have to wait until you're 60. A second act can happen. You can have gone to college and think you're going to go one direction. You get out, you get into your field, and then you're suddenly thinking, oh, I think I'm in the wrong place, and have to adjust. So it can happen at any time.
Absolutely. And it's funny because as you were talking, I was thinking about myself and how when you may even think that it's a wrong move in the moment, like, oh, that didn't work out. But
Yes.
funny to watch them circle back around. Like even in this moment right now, I'm thinking my time in television prepared me for this. And
Yes.
like
Yes.
the wellness industry of what that feels like when a woman feels well and feels beautiful, and that's how I'm helping to mentor other women, that it has this full circle effect. And you go back to trusting, like, even though I'm closing the store right now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be coming back through a side window or through the back way, and it's going to be holding its place somewhere else.
Yes, you're exactly right. And I think that's sort of what happened to me with the orphanage in Mexico, and it came back around, got it that again. And you're exactly right that your time in front of the camera has prepared you for now. We're all in front of cameras all the time,
Totally.
right?
Like, I got this.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Mm. Mm.
Amazing. How did you and then when so again, you're going back, you're listening to all these stories, which are all very powerful. And how did they affect you? Like how did they change you in actually writing the book?
Well, I'll tell you, one thing I found really interesting was Tao Papua, who is Tongan but was raised in Utah and was an NFL football player. He got injured as a football player and decided to pursue opera singing because his family was very involved in music and really loved music and he loved to sing. And what I took from him is his humility, because here he had been like an NFL player, and he moves to New York City and takes a job as a waiter in a restaurant across from Lincoln Center. And I know that that restaurant, we laughed a lot about just being in New York, you know, and struggling. But the humility and lack of ego that he had allowed him to be open to, you know, what was going to be coming. And he still had a strategy, and his strategy was, all the opera singers are across the street at Lincoln Center. How can I be around all those opera singers? And it was this restaurant that everybody used to come into. And he said he would talk to every single customer that came in, watch how they ate, what they talked about. And then he joined a smaller, like, there's a lot of smaller little opera companies in New York. And then when there were auditions at Lincoln Center, he went and auditioned after he had been studying for a while. So I loved his humility. And he was willing to go from being a big NFL player to being a waiter in a restaurant. He had no problems with it. He had a goal in his mind, and this is the way he was going to achieve it. So he didn't let a thought like, I'm not going to be a waiter. People used to wait on me, right? He didn't let that get in the way of his, he didn't let his ego get in the way of his goal. So that was an incredible lesson for me now as I'm starting to produce more. And I am, you know, I just try to be a sponge and really observe and soak up everything that everybody's doing. And I know that I don't know a lot. And I'm really, and what's exciting is to be able to learn something new. So I loved that aspect. And we had, there's so many wonderful stories in here. The couple who opened the restaurant, is it Larry and Sarah Bruce? Larry and Sarah Bruce.
Yeah.
Larry and Sarah Bruce. You know, they got ripped off in his first job, and they had to like put their tail between their legs and go back home. And then they opened a lawn service, and that was great. And then the 2008 crash happened, and nobody was spending money on their lawn care anymore. And then she started making salads and trying to grow their own food because they were struggling. And she, you know, advertised her salads on Facebook, and suddenly people wanted her salads. And now they have this incredible, you know, open air market and restaurant. And now they've got wonderful cottages you can stay in Texas. And what I really loved about their story, and just another aspect, so with Tao, we're talking about humility. This couple, their teamwork that they had together in putting this, this whole company, getting it up and running, was so wonderful. You know, after the initial first job that he had, I think it was an accountant, and he found out that his boss was just ripping people off, and there was all this funny stuff. And they came back to hometown, they had no money. So he started working at a grocery store, and they didn't, there's another bit of humility. They didn't have a car, so he would ride his bike to the grocery store in the winter, and he'd come home and his mustache had ice on it. And he talks about how Sarah would just help like get the ice off of his mustache. And I just thought that is so sweet. When you're doing something to, you know, to have someone with you that is on your team and you're working together and you're supporting each other, it makes the journey a lot easier and more of an adventure because you're sharing it with someone. So that was another aspect of the story that impressed me. And I feel like I have that with my husband as we're doing this movie together. And we're having,
yeah, the director and the producer. So how is that teamwork?
Well, we had to warn our other producers and the crew of like, you know, just know if you hear us fighting, that doesn't mean we're getting divorced. It's just how we do it. And I think we only had one little kerfuffle at the beginning of production. Two. Oh, he's saying two. We had two.
But background, he's like, well,
yes. But and it was more about how we're going to communicate. So you have to have a clear line of communication and what the procedure is going to be. Then you got to stick to it on a set. I imagine that that's the way any company works. You know, you have to know how you're communicating and what the channels of communication are and what's appropriate. So we hadn't gotten that down yet. So it was causing a bit of confusion. So then we had to, you know, discuss back at the hotel how we were going to do it. So that was, you know, that's been good. And, you know, we are a team, and it's been 30 years, I think. He'll tell me if I'm wrong. And you know, it's you see yourself as a team and as each other's support, and I think that makes a new adventure much easier. And then all the weight of making these decisions isn't just on you. Like
Right.
you know, you share the decision making, and so I think it's tricky, but if you can do it, it really helps strengthen the relationship.
I agree. And I think that, you know, I again, I always go back to like my accident days. I felt like it was so doable and so manageable because I never felt alone. That I feel like we feel alone, and when we feel um, that we're doing it behind closed doors and can't
Right.
be open and honest about it, that like you said, it has that extra pressure on you versus when you can talk about it with someone, you've got that teammate or teammates or a support system, that it makes a huge difference.
Yes.
And with, again, like kind of coming back to pandemic, with people now being indoors, when I listen to, you know, couples advice through pandemic, it's always set the clear communication up front. You know,
Yeah.
what do you need? Set the boundary. Otherwise, you're in for turmoil. So it looks
Right.
like you've got a really good way of doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think everybody's kind of struggling with that during this. And but as I said, you know, it's a good time for reflection, and you know, maybe this is a time for not just individuals but couples to look at their lives and
Mhm.
see what do we want to do different. Even if you don't end up like changing your job or something, just maybe you want to change the way you're parenting, the way your family is together. Um, how much time you're spending apart versus how much time you're doing family stuff. Um, and I think we're going to be changed forever with this pandemic. And I think mostly for the good, actually.
I think so too. And I think some days I worry that I'm too optimistic, you know, for people. I'm bouncing in with the joy, like, look at all the good. But
Yes.
I agree. I think it's a really beautiful wake up period for people, that it's bringing us back to the center of what's truly important, what's really makes a difference in our life, which is all about our perspective and
Mm-hmm.
our ability to pivot.
Yeah.
Do you think that something happened in you within the way that you're raised or child, or where do you think that it was ingrained in you in this ability to pivot? Because you seem to really love the growth that comes with
Yes.
it.
Well, you know, my mother died suddenly when I was 12. And as hard and harsh as that is, I feel in some ways it benefited me because I had to realize very quickly that nothing's guaranteed in life. And I learned that super early. And I'm very good at moving on. And I think it's because of that incident in my life. And like my husband and I are very good at purging stuff. Like every year, like maybe twice a year, we go through and throw stuff out. And I have friends who are so attached to a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, get rid of it, you know. And I think it has to do with like just moving forward because of what I went through with my mom. And I think for the most part, it's a thing for me, but I do think sometimes it maybe I'm a little shut down emotionally. Maybe it's a protective,
Sure.
you know, thing that I learned, and there might be, I don't want to say it's a lack of trust. I would say it's more like, it's like when things are, and maybe it's that sort of Catholic thing. When things are going really good, I'm kind of looking over my shoulder going, when's that shoe going to drop? Like something, it's a little
Gotcha.
too, everything's a little too great right now. Something, you know, of course, when the pandemic came, I was like, ah, there it is. Yeah. So, it can be detrimental, but I try to use it for good,
Sure.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just not as flipped out when bad things happen, because I feel like I experienced a very bad thing, and I'm still here, and I have a lovely
Okay.
life, and I have a family, and I'm okay. And the beauty of my faith is I know that that's just a temporary separation from my mom, so I will see her again. So I don't, it's not forever. So I just have to be patient, and I'm not in a huge hurry to join her as much as I
Right. You're
want
like,
to see her,
wait.
if you know what I mean.
Go along that a little bit more. So why do you think your faith is so strong? Was that again in childhood? Was that because I grew up Catholic as well, and I went through
Oh,
all
you did?
but I feel like it wasn't again until this pivotal moment in my life that faith came back up for me.
Oh, so how did it manifest once you had the accident?
Well, again, I think it shifted perspective of what is important, and then I started to go into like this healing process of, because I always, as like an achiever and overachiever, I thought everything was because I worked really hard for it. And now I kind of come to this thing of I worked really hard for it because God gave me that as a gift. And that I feel like it's this beautiful kind of choreographed dance that we don't really know why things are happening, but they are, and they're serving us. And there's no other explanation that I have except for God.
Yes.
And his looking over everything and making sure it's, it's manifesting the way it is. And it can only manifest that way because he puts those different gifts within each of us, is how I have come to understand it and believe it. But the Catholic going through all the motions, it got so repetitious for me that it didn't really have this lasting effect. I had to sort of look it right in the face and see it again.
Yes. So, and I think that story that you told about your aunt when you were asking her like why this happened to you, and she said you can't ask why right now. And I think that was very good advice, because some whys will be answered in this life, but a lot we're not going to know until the next life. So the point is to be present now where you are and see what's before you and what's your next step, what's even just a baby step that you're going to take, because the why doesn't take you anywhere, right?
Yeah. Sometimes even knowing it doesn't do anything.
Right.
And
even you could be in therapy and your therapist can tell you, oh, that you're like this because your mom did this or your dad did this or you had that experience in school. Still leaves you with, but what are you going to do next?
Right. We still got to
heal. So what? Right.
It can't always change something. And the beautiful day was the day that I got to give her that advice back. And as it was coming out of my mouth, she said, oh, like she just like,
that was painful.
It was painful. Yeah. When you're receiving it, it was hard, but it nipped it. It was like, all right, we're not going to waste our energy looking for the why. We're going to waste our energy, not waste it. We're going to use our energy,
focus
on healing, on strengthening, on figuring out how to use this experience. And then the why really came out of all of that. The why comes out when we're distracted going through it. So,
and you probably see it with your clients, like the why. It's like, oh, this is why, because look how you've been able to change other people's lives.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I'm starting to get a lot more messages from those without disabilities than with physical disabilities saying,
really?
I see my problems in the spokes of your wheelchair. I see you overcoming it, and I'm able to kind of insert problem here. And so I call it our seemingly disabling circumstances. Like what is seemingly disabling to us? And then my very favorite prayer that I sort of stole from my therapist and kind of made it my own was, dear God, thank you for the seemingly good and thank you for the seemingly bad. For in this moment, I do not know the difference.
And that gave me chills. I just got chills.
Right? So good. Because we
don't know it
in the moment.
Yes.
You know, it's so beautiful to now see that breaking my back, having to use a wheelchair, opened my life up into ways that no way could have planned it. No way could have written that out. Absolutely not. And I've become really grateful for it. And it's all through that process of surrender.
Yes.
But the surrender one is a hard one to explain to others. So, do you have any tips on what is that process like? How did that feel to you when you actually surrendered?
It was an actual physical act for me. I was, 29 or 30, living in my cousin's girlfriend's mother's back bedroom in West Hollywood.
I love that.
What a winner. And, and after that trip, I came back and I physically knelt down in the room and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just putting it all in front of you and giving it to you. And it's almost like this is going to sound like real woo woo new agey.
Go for it.
I'm not, that's kind of not my personality, but it was almost like there had been this rod of my acting ambition. And I just felt like I had to like bend it, it had to be malleable. And I almost like felt a physical sort of bending going on internally, like a spiritual bending, but it almost felt physical to me. Wow. And yeah. And, what's interesting is, in order to be an actor and to try to, to work really hard to achieve, you have to have that really strong will. So this is weird thing of like, you need that, but on the other hand, you have to give it over. So it's not like it went away. I just handed it over, and then it found its appropriate place in my life. So when you talk about the spokes of your wheel, it's like that ambition was the center, and God was just like this minor spoke in it. And I expected him to serve my center, which was acting. For me, for true, Christianity, God has to be the center, and the acting comes off of that. And for me, the beauty of that is this never changes if it's God. Acting comes and goes. My show was just canceled. It's gone, right? It goes. So if that's my center and it disappears, then you're wobbling all over the place. You don't have, if God never changes, if he's always there for you, then all these spokes can come and go. The center will hold. The center will hold. So that's the big adjustment that I had to make. And so, and then there's what's great about that. When you know the center is going to hold, you just relax. You just relax, because you're not in charge anymore. And you're not depending on some casting director giving you a role to give you security or meaning in your life, because that comes and goes. Now my security and my meaning is I know God is there, and I know he loves me, and I know he wants to give me the desires of my heart. And so I just have to like sit back, do what he puts in front of me for the day. And, a priest friend of mine said, his prayer every day is very simple. How can I serve you today? That's it. That's the prayer. How can I serve you today? And then he has his day. And I've been trying to incorporate that more. And mine is more like, how can I serve you through this project I'm hoping to get up and running? So, I'm a little more specific. And that's where I'm coming from. I know that probably not everybody who reads the book maybe has that background, but I think there's a lot in the book that you can just relate to in people's struggles. And how they overcame them and what the steps are that they took.
Absolutely. What do you think's been your biggest struggle in your life that you've overcome?
My biggest struggle that I don't know. I mean, look, actors, you have to have a massive ego to be an actor. But it's not the prettiest attribute. you know. I think that I have to constantly be trying to release unhealthy ego, like,
Hmm.
you know, unhealthy ego. And what happens is, if an unhealthy ego constantly compares themselves to others, and you can't do that because everybody has their own journey, and your journey is your journey, and somebody else's journey is their journey, and you can't look at them and say, I wish I had that. Or, I mean, you can be aspirational, but it turns into envy, or
Right.
bitterness or something. And you know you have to, I think people who are in AA say, to compare is despair. So your journey is your journey, and however it turns out, and it's different from other people's journey, you just need to embrace that. So I think that is, and people say, well, how could you look at, you've had a couple of great TV shows, you've got a family, but how could you ever, don't underestimate bloody ego and ambition of people in the entertainment industry. You can have everything in the world and still like be looking over there going, but wait, what about
Oh,
that? Right?
I feel like every walk of life can have that. And it's really big right now, especially with social media, that
Yes.
wait a minute, wait, I don't have that. I don't have that. I mean,
Right.
down to like the filter of the photo is
Yes.
really,
And that's down to like how you look, and I'm sure for you being in a presenter and the beauty industry, and then having, your accident, that's a huge adjustment for that you had to make, of not having that be your identity.
right. Well, and I think that then, it goes back to body comparing and I mean just everything as a woman, going back to that perfectionism that we can have in our work and how we look, and it can go through all aspects of our lives. And one of the big things that comes out with working with other women is they just want to feel beautiful, and they
Yes.
want to be seen for like, look at me, don't look at my chair. I
Right.
am not my circumstance. It has helped make me who I am, but pay attention. I'm right here. And
Yes.
we get really distracted by all the things of life and the things that people have, or the things that people are doing, and we have to bring it back to who we are as people, and what that we get to use all of that. We can use all of our struggles, but yeah, that was a really, really hard one. And it was a really big adjustment of, I thought in my head that because I had a disability in a wheelchair, I wasn't supposed to be pretty. Like I had
Oh,
such
right.
a bad stereotype in the head
Right.
of and they were ugly stereotypes of you can't be healthy, successful, pretty. Like you
Mhm.
have this role in your head, and then we sort of think that we have to become the role.
Right.
And that's how I struggled with it. And it was big for many years. And then coming to these waves of, I can actually feel really pretty in my wheelchair, and that's okay. And then seeing other women do the same, and it's
That's got to be so satisfying with all your
totally,
clients, right?
totally. And these women just saying like, I feel really sexy,
Right,
with their
right, right.
husband or whatever. And it's like they've never felt that before. So
And
it's
you need that
beautiful.
internally in order to, if you don't have that, you won't be able to be that, like to have that healthy self-love, that kind of joy, that you don't let those circumstances take that joy of life away from you.
Yes. And maybe you refer to it as like the healthy ego, where sometimes we
Right.
feel bad to actually really feel good about ourselves. We feel like we're, with women, like I'm supposed to minimize myself or make myself feel small for the sake of others. I don't know, but we've kind of
Right.
registered that as women. And so it's interesting when a woman actually feels really good about herself, that can even be looked at as a bad thing. So having that
Right.
healthy ego and reminding us that it's okay, ladies, we can feel good about ourselves,
Yes.
really proud about ourselves, and that's amazing.
Yeah. And has the pandemic posed challenges for you? Like, what has your experience of it been so far?
Having my son all the time.
I am so grateful that my kids were out of school. I mean, I have two at university, but that's, they do that on their own. I
Yeah,
have nothing to do with that. I cannot imagine parenting during this thing. I am so grateful that my kids were out of the house when this came.
totally. It has definitely put everything that I've learned about myself and healing and healthy tools to action. Like you were saying, like how committed are you? How much do you really know it? Because you're gonna now teach it to this kid 24/7. So I think that's been the hardest thing. And kind of just being able to say that out loud with the other mothers of, I'm not liking this. I don't like being with him all the time. I didn't realize I liked my alone time that much.
Right,
It's okay to say something like that. I love my kid, have to put the disclaimer, but
Yeah.
I think it's been really, really tricky.
Now, has Hawaii opened up yet? Is he going to be able to go to school, or what's the deal?
All the public schools, now he's 5, so this is kindergarten.
Okay.
Public schools went virtual for kindergarten as well. So now we're looking at private schools because
the private schools are in class.
They're still going 5 days a week. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's such a decision to make. And I just, with having an only child, the socialization is so important to me.
Yes.
I was an only child for 10 years, and it got ingrained in me that the world revolved around me, and I've had to really break that one up. So, it doesn't. And
right.
Figuring that one out every day.
Yeah.
So really wanting him to know that as well. But
right.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
But you have, I mean, in Hawaii, your weather is basically really great most of the time.
It is. I mean,
so you can get outdoor. You guys can get outdoors and
totally. You just walk out your front door and you're like, okay, we're in paradise, even though there's a pandemic. Yes. You're kind of still secluded on your little island, which is amazing. And but again, it kind of almost made me be re-grateful again for living here in Hawaii, which you start to take it for granted that it's beautiful every day. So
that's right. I felt that way about being in Los Angeles. We had to come back, and 2 of our sons were working on the movie with us. So they came back to LA with us when everything shut down. And it was actually really nice. And I almost had I think in California, you had a different experience of the pandemic than say people in New York were having, because
right.
I mean, they, I don't know if you've been to New York, those apartments are small. And if you can't leave, I mean, and we have a backyard and a swimming pool and, so it was kind of like just being on a hiatus, except you couldn't go to restaurants.
Right. Again, it brings you back to okay, what's important in life and how are we going to manage? And so, all right, we're coming up on our hour.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that went so fast.
I know. This was so much fun. I could talk to you for hours. You're such a beautiful soul. And again, this book, Your Second Act, is out now. You can get it anywhere books are sold. Look at our copies we got right. I got my signed copy from Patricia.
Yeah.
It's so near and dear to my heart. And then I actually went and bought one myself and signed it to myself.
Yay!
Which is a really powerful moment in itself, just to be able to do that and just embrace my own second act.
Yes.
I think that's what I hope that people get out of right now, is that embrace it. It can be really hard. It can suck sometimes. And we really do not know what is happening under the surface for us.
Yes.
And this is a pivot moment.
Yes.
So last words of advice for those that are struggling right now in that pivot because I feel like people can go onto a path of destruction during change.
Yes.
And people can also go to a path of reinvention, which is what this book is about. What is that pivotal thing?
Yes, just know that change is hard. I think we like the security and the sameness, most people. So change is hard. So don't get down on yourself if you're struggling in this moment of life is all different now and I don't know what to do with it. So give yourself a break, and then try to let go of the fear, because that uncomfortableness with change is sort of a fear about not knowing what's coming. And so try to see it as an adventure. Try to see it.
Love that.
Listen, because everything, you can go down a path and think maybe this isn't right, and you can adjust. And, so it's the tough thing about life is everything changes. But the great thing about life is everything changes. So these circumstances are going to change. And if you're in a tough circumstance right now, as they say, it gets better. It gets better. Mm-hmm. And so take steps. I like to say in this book, there's a couple things you can do to just start thinking, what if I had my druthers? What would I be doing right now? And ways you can do that are listen to podcasts in those areas that you're thinking of. Maybe there's a direction I'd like to go. You can take classes online now, and they're pretty inexpensive, and we're doing everything online now. So you might as well take advantage of it and get an inexpensive class and something that you think you might want to try. And then, if possible, wherever you're living, volunteering and getting out in the community takes your mind off yourself. You start meeting new people. It just, the more you get out there and open yourself up to new experiences, the more like the creative juices are flowing, you're being open, and life is coming at you, and you're participating in that energy, the creativeness, the community. The toughest thing about this has been community, right? We've had to kind of contain community. And so, the minute that you can get out there and keep doing that and be open to experiences, be open to new people, and try to see it as the glass half full, and know that you're going to be okay in the end.
We just sometimes have no idea what okay is going to look like.
Nope, that's right.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel like the biggest nugget I got from you is that everything is temporary. And yes. So to really, really enjoy it and also not be so hard on ourselves as well.
You're right. The temporariness, everything is temporary. So enjoy it while you have it and be ready to let it go when it's time to move to the new thing.
Yes. I feel like that is the best piece that you got from your mother.
Yes.
And from your experience with your mother, and that even you saying that it's temporary, in which I'm going to be able to see her again, and knowing even that with death and being able to let go, knowing that we can still hold on to the joy that it offered.
Yes.
And it's just temporary.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Sarah, thanks for doing this. This is so much fun. And it's nice to actually see your face in person and not just talk to you on the phone. So
I know. Oh, this has been such a gem. Last night I could not sleep. It was seriously like Christmas. I was texting my girlfriend who's in New York, and she's like, go to bed right now. What are you doing? Doing? So it's like 6 a.m. there and midnight here. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this. And thanks for being a part of the book. And your story is so inspirational. I know a lot of people are going to be able to move forward because of your story in particular.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Wow. Pinch me. I'm dreaming. Everyone that hasn't yet gotten it, it's Your Second Act. You can also listen to it on Audible. You can buy it anywhere books are sold. It is such a beautiful story. A collection of stories of total reinvention, from the small everyday to the biggest billion-dollar acquisitions in business. So it's from all ranges. I think it's going to touch so many hearts. And then also World Vision that Patricia is part of and able to give such a platform to. And remember, like, get out of your own head and really, really embrace what you can do for others. It's not all about you. Take it from me. It is not all about you. It's not all of us together. So thank you again.
Yes, thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
There we go. See you guys. Aloha.